Welcome, everybody. I'm Toni Bergens. I'm so excited to introduce you to Christian Cadenas, who is a modern day medicine man who I've been working with for the last 4 years. I can't believe it's been that long since my first ceremony. And we're going to have a conversation about what we're doing together and plant medicine. And welcome, Christian. Thanks for coming and talking to me tonight.
Oh, hello, Tony. Thank you for having me here. Of course, as usual, it's a pleasure to work with you and be of service to you. And, just honored to be here with you and your community. I know you have built an amazing community, and I'm just so excited to be of service in whatever way I am asked to be. So, thank you for having me.
Oh,
And
you're welcome.
uh,
I mean, what has happened so far is my personal journey with you has been so profound and so deep that I invited you. Those of you who don't know Christian, I invited him to do we did some dance and shamanic journeys together online the last few months, and we've had some incredible things happen. And I personally have had journeys I've never thought I could possibly have post facilitating my own journey dance to get people into that open space. And people really loved it and they asked for more and they're clamoring because we need healing right now. You know, when I did my first medicine journey, well, it's a very long story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about when I first met Christian. I remember was walking down the street in my town, and my best friend is very good friends with Christian, and he's from California, and I'd never met him before. She always talked about Christian, Christian, Christian. You have to meet Christian someday. And I met him walking down the street and I saw this guy coming toward me. I was like, oh my God, this guy is scary. He is so powerful. He is like a sword of truth. That's how I felt. We shook hands and I was like, oh my God, I definitely am not ready to work with this guy yet. And I felt your energy hit me like an anchor, if that makes any sense. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like, and it scared me. Good. I'm glad you're laughing.
I am laughing because I remember that moment so vividly walking on the street. And I do remember your reaction of taking a step back and trying to hide. And energetically, I remember beaming towards you. It's okay, little one, you're safe. I'm not here to push you. And so I was talking to you and just trying to help you, you know, not feel exposed because it is so easy to feel so vulnerable, especially with someone that you haven't met, and
Oh my God,
and
you make
that's
me cry already.
yeah, and I know I always try to be very impeccable. I don't go and look into people's feels and energies because at the end of the day, it's none of my business, right? I'm here to work in service, and I do enjoy living my own life. But when it's time to step into service, hey, it is time to be grounded. You bring the medicine, and then you
Oh
let
my
it go.
God.
Yeah. Uh,
So I'll continue with that story. So I was, thinking about him on the back burner way back, and then all kinds of things happened. COVID happened, all these things happened, and I woke up one morning after being very, very, very ill, and I knew in my head, my mind said, it's time to do plant medicine. And I was like, oh my God, I've been like really not joining with this big medicine community that's been going on, all over in like secret places around. And I reached out to a friend and I said, I'd like to I'm ready. And then she said, oh my God, Christian is coming. And in a week, it was like so unbelievable. And I just signed up last minute and went. And I was, truly, transformation isn't really the right word. It was almost like a transcendent experience of being so exposed to my own stuff and then so held to be able to let go of some oldest patterning. This is just one of my journeys, but we can talk about that at some point and tell them some of those stories because it was kind of funny. I did have a funny one that particular time. A lot of crying, a lot of laughing, and a lot of I'm a character. You all know that. So I ended up going into a character during the journey of this very tiny creature that lives on the ground, and I was into it. Um, and Christian kept coming over to me at different points and saying, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't think I'm doing very well." I felt very small and meek and like a little uh
a,
meaningless
s-
being.
a slug. I
It was the
remember you
slug.
said, "I am a slug."
I was like, I'm a slug. We won't go into all the details, but it was funny. And he said to me, I remember the first time you came over, you were like, Toni, you need to do, you know, Ho'oponopono with the earth. So I started with the earth and then it went, I don't know if you remember, but every time you came over, you gave me another layer to do. And I was like in my own journey. Um, but what I remember most about doing this particular plant medicine, which I love you to speak about when I'm done with this little part of the story, it was that it slowed everything down so much. And you all are going to laugh, I'll tell you. So I set my intention. Of course, I have always have these grandiose intentions. I'm not going to lie. I have many grandiose intentions because I want to change the world and I want the world to be loving and healing and peaceful and exuberant and all the things. And he's like, Toni, you need to do stillness. And I was like, oh, stillness? That's like not on my exuberant, divine intention, notebook. I want to do all these. And he's like, stillness. And I was just like crying. And I realized I cried and it was right. It was the right medicine for me. And that day of stillness has not left me for 1 minute. I've learned so much from that and the slowing down of my mind that happens when you're on this type of medicine journey is so epic. And what is uncovered, it's so hard to explain except through a visceral experience. But it was a life-changing beginning of more journeys to come, which have really changed me. I do feel transformed from working with you all these years later, all the journeys I've taken. Whenever I went through a big bump in the road, I would call and say, can we work together? And it has been really deep. So will you talk a little bit about what happens when you're on this particular amazing, my beloved, that I love so much, the grandfather?
Of course, yes. I actually didn't know anything about the grandfather medicine. I actually didn't know my ancestors worked with this medicine.
Oh,
When I first came into this shamanic path, I had an awakening. I had been at the Wounded Warrior Battalion, and my heart just broke seeing all these young men and women, some of them, it just made me think like, wow, what am I contributing to this world? I keep training people to become war
he
machines,
was a
to become
Marine, you guys. He was a Marine. I'm sorry, but he told me the story and I was like, my jaw was dropped open, like, you were a Marine? Well, he looks like a Marine, you'll see. But
I served for 14 years. I did some time in the army too as well. So, just sharing the love a little bit. But I just couldn't deal with that and my heart broke. And so,
mm,
fast forward, I came into this shamanic journey because I had an awakening. I started to see things, hear things, and I thought I was going crazy. I didn't know what was happening. And I was actually just about to become an officer in the army. My commission was ready to go, and I was going through that process. So I went to the Four Winds because I wanted somebody to fix my symptoms so I can come back to become an officer.
wow.
And that's really all I ever wanted. I had worked so hard my whole life. After 14 years, my dreams were coming reality. But those dreams, when we speak of destiny, every dream that
Hmm.
we have becomes small because our destiny continues to open. And so I did know from a young age that I wanted a service. I wanted to be a doctor at first because I wanted to tend to sick people, but life gets in the way. And so one thing led to another. And I do know that this was a true calling. It was an ancestral calling because I really didn't have to move a finger. People would come to my door and be like, hey, I want to teach you how to do this. Do you want to learn how to harvest this cactus? And, after my first journey with the grandfather, I tried to do ayahuasca, God knows, so many times, and it never worked, even with my mentors and teachers. And it was so exciting, and it wouldn't work. I felt like I had a force over me that wouldn't allow me to go there. And what happened was, when I first actually sat with my first journey, the grandfather spoke to me. It took a while to find my stillness because, like I have been on the journey for a few years, and you think like, oh, I meditate and I do this, but these master teachers show you that you can always slow down some more. When you
Yeah.
think you can't slow down anymore, there's always that possibility because the
Hmm.
universe was built through millions and of
Yeah.
thousands of years. And so we can always slow down more. And this is why I love this particular medicine, because it helps you embody, right? The shamanic path is about embodiment. When you embody something, when you embody your love, when you embody your power, when you feel it in every cell in your body, no one can take that away from you. It's yours now. And when you speak of these experiences, it carries a lot of power. Not like someone that just read it from a book and it's just telling you something that sounds good.
I'm
And
so with
so,
you. I'm like gonna explode over here. I just want to say that's was the one thing I remember when we did the intentions, because I've done ayahuasca and other medicines and we had different intentions. And when you said, no, Tony, I want you to say, please, grandfather, help me to embody this, whatever I was doing at that time. And that was it for me, because my whole work, as you know, I'm writing this book and it's almost done, and it's called Embody, and it's about embodying, who you are. My essence is very energetic. So doing the stillness piece was so hard, but it was the most profound day that just got me, changed my life. And I remember I saw all these purple things and I was telling you, I'm seeing all these purple things. And you were like, it's okay. The grandfather is reprogramming your brain and your nervous system. And I was like, oh, and it all made sense in that moment, of course. Yeah.
yes, and of course the purple light, it's, it helps transmute fear, right? And so all of us carry so much fear about what's
Oh
on
my
the
God.
other side of things, and so the big work here is embodying whatever it is that you feel you're missing. And what the
Mm,
grandfather shows you is that everything that you think is somewhere out there, it's in you and it's in
mm-hmm.
your heart. It begins with the heart. And that's why this beautiful, the color of the chakra is green, and this beautiful cactus is green, and it helps you come into your heart, connect with nature. It helps you remember that you have not been kicked out of the Garden of Eden, that this is the garden and we're not taking care of it. But it is
Mm-hmm.
about having that experience of being out in nature and you being a part of this living, breathing being that
Mm,
is Pachamama, which is Mother Earth. And when you have that experience that you are a part of it and that you breathe, that it's not going around you, it's going right through you and you're in it. When you can reclaim that power, what happens is amazing, because in order to shift the reality as you know it, you have to first acknowledge that you created all of this
mm-hmm.
and that because you created this, when you're separate from it, you cannot change anything. You're a victim. But when you remember, like, yes, I am a part of this organism, so therefore it responds to me, it
Mm.
completely changes the way you relate to the universe and
I,
who
I
you are.
remember I remember when I did my second journey with you. I had been going through this awful heartbreak. I was a total mess. I was like, I was broken into pieces, and I thought I'm never going to make it. And I was like, I want to heal my heart. I want to heal my heart. And you were like, nope. You're like, you have to step into your power. I want you to claim your power. I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then I burst into tears. He's right. Okay. Because when you cry, your intention is correct, just so you know. So, so I did this other whole journey where I was shown and I was experiencing and embodying all the power animals and all the dark side, the shadow side of each thing and the light side of each thing, so to speak. And I was being shown like that you can use that your power is so has to be held in such a balance because you could tip this way so easily and then but you have to focus to stay this way, on the light worker's path. It was so powerful. It has not left me for 1 second. That was almost 2 years ago now. And that journey, I still think about that. Like it showed me like this kind of serpent and then the viper. Like it showed me the two different kinds, and it showed me the power of the jaguar and the power of the eagle and the power of the hummingbird. And the hummingbird, I wanted to have my heart open so bad. And then I saw a hummingbird. I was so excited. And that crazy snail. Remember the crazy snail that like came out of
Yes.
nowhere? I mean, whatever that was. Oh my God. But in real time, I mean, I'm talking about a real snail that suddenly appeared. It was very funny. Every journey, and the people who are on the journey also like sort of have a interplay. Like at that particular journey, we all were so embodying the thing that we wanted to become, that we were interacting and helping each other. And I never interacted before in any of the other journeys, and we were helping each other embody the thing that they wanted to embody. It was very powerful. And the way you lead is so interesting. Every journey's been totally different. One time, I never saw anybody the whole day. And then one time, you had us come and gather many different times, but you sent us away. And then one time we were together the whole time. Like it was just so, how does that happen?
Oh, well, I become a vessel, right? One of the ways during the way my initiation started, which lasted, a few years, uh, when I learned how to make my own medicine and all of these things, the last thing we had to do after I drank the first time I made my medicine, the grandfather said, you're going to sit here and you're going to help no one. You're going to watch because I'm going to show you everything that shouldn't be happening. Like you
Oh,
shouldn't
wow.
be overstepping. You shouldn't be rescuing people. You shouldn't be right because you're going to
Ooh.
get in my way of showing them something greater because the work is about empowering people. And one
Mm.
of the things that I've learned throughout, my decade of working with this is that we humans have a very weird relationship with our power, right? We're afraid of our power, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
a lot of us feel like somebody has taken our power away, but actually we're the only ones that have the power to give our power away or cut ourselves because we feel terrible about something. And so
Mm.
yes, we could work on a heartbreak, we could work on this and that, but what I have learned at the end of the day, and this is sort of like one of the advanced mastery classes that I have learned how to do, like advanced destiny retrieval. One of the main things we want to do is, in order to open bigger destiny lines for the client, we have to recalibrate them with our power, because our relationship with power tends to throw off every other aspect in our lives, whether it's
Hmm.
love, whether it's health, you name it.
Mm.
So the fastest shortcut that I have found is, if we can recalibrate your power in this world, right, in this middle world and the lower world, the Uhu Patch and the upper worlds, and we can clear all of that. We clear so much out of your momentum tunnel from labels, roles, and things like that. And then
Mm.
everything else sort of clicks back into place. And after that, a lot of times you don't need as much healing, right? Because if we start focusing on one thing at a time, it could take a lifetime. And sometimes we
Oh,
have
I
to go
know it.
for, we want to go for the juicy stuff. We don't have that kind of time to be, right? Like just weeding
Yes.
every little thing. We have
Oh,
to
totally.
remember that we have to plant beautiful things in our garden too, because it does no good to have a garden, you know, lifeless garden, which is our lives, right? Where we're always peeling the weeds and shadow work, but we never plant beauty. We have to
Mm.
remember to plant joy and beauty and gratitude in these higher frequencies that allows
Mm.
us to be in the flow of creation.
I love that you just said that because that just weaves in, what the reason why I love the shamanic path on so many levels, especially, you as my teacher has been so powerful for me because journey dance, it started out as for me, I was in such pain when I started teaching. I was, very wounded, but I found this one place, the dance floor, where I was just totally me. Like I was fun and I was powerful and I was sexy and I was, angry and I was happy and I was like all of me encapsulated into this one space. And I would definitely plant positive vision and end with this big realization of like this prayer space that I call it. And it was the one place where I felt like totally me. Like I know that's how you feel now. Like this is your calling. There's no question. Like for me, I haven't stopped doing journey dance. I've been doing it for 27 years now. It's like, okay, you're still doing it. Yeah, I'm still doing it because it does something for me. And what it does in relationship to what you do is it puts us in an altered state, not with medicine, but in a with the music and the movement and the little guidance, and you're in a zone and it's like out of regular time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, like you're talking about, these realizations can come. The subconscious material can come up. We can release the charge of energy. We can do this accelerated healing. And working with you is like putting it on a whole nother level. It's like we take the journey, then we go into the inner world. So we're joining forces in some ways. Online we're offering these really cool like 45-minute dance into a 45-minute to an hour long journey where you did some crazy clearings for everybody. Oh my God, I mean, it was so profound. And now we're going to actually do it in a physical. We're going to dance and we're going to journey, really journey with medicine as well as with your teachings. So I'm so excited to help people accelerate their own embodiment, because if we don't get embodied right now, we're going to keep perpetuating this, what's happening in the world. And it's it's sort of a tragedy of numbness. I feel like that's one of the biggest painful things happening in the world. I heard somebody say, and I'm curious what you think about this. I heard somebody say that we're supposed to hold our community in our arms, and we can't hold more than like 100 people at a time in our arms. It's like not natural for the energy body to hold the whole entire world in our arms. It's too taxing for the body. So we have to release the emotions in different ways in order to come back to the center where we can then hold our immediate and our, I don't know what you think about that, but I'm so curious. And then we can go to the other
Yeah,
realms, do the
of
other work.
course, and I'm gonna just use the teachings from the grandfather, from the medicine, from the plant, because that's exactly it. Is sometimes we can get into our ego that we have to hold everyone, right? Everybody has this, like think like I'm gonna save the world, and it's like,
Mm,
no, there is not one Messiah. We're supposed to rely on each other.
hmm
Unfortunately for all of us, and this is what the grandfather showed me. It's just like, no,
mm,
you're getting in the way, and when you're directing and using your own energy, you're going to get depleted. You're
hmm
here to bring water. You're here to listen, and this is why every journey is different.
Yes.
Because and even in my own initiation, when my mentor Alberto Violdo took me to Apo Sangate to do a transmission over there and receive those gifts, his only guidance over there was like, hey, when you feel that you have to do something, shut up and sit down and listen.
Ooh.
So if you're thinking, don't think. Sit down and listen, because
Mm,
that's where you're gonna hear it. And that's what the grandfather taught me. Unless you sit down, quiet the mind, which the plant helps you, and you open your
yes.
heart, because here is where you're going to hear the grandfather, right? When you open your heart, you get to slow down, you get to embody yourself, you get to
Mm,
feel all of that. And so we have so many resources in the invisible, but we don't rely on that. We think we have to do it all on our own.
mm,
We have the
yeah.
body of Mother Earth, and so if we return to her and we ask for her help and we ask for our ancestors' help, our container becomes so much bigger. We have so much help, and the energy that is so heavy for us, right? When we're saying like, "Oh no, like this is like too heavy," it's okay. But if you're working with Pachamama, with Mother Earth and the archetypes, to them it's a delicacy. It's just energy that she can transmute and create
hmm
life from it. So our job is really to be open and allow for things, right? Just hold the
mm,
space. It's not yours. You don't need to take it on, right? Because sometimes we get into the thought that I have to do something, but it's
hmm
not. Just hold the space without any judgment, and the energy is gonna move, and the mother's gonna take it, and she's going to take it, and she's going to create beauty and life from it.
We need to hear that right now. I can feel that. For those who are listening and watching us have this conversation, I think that was a really important transmission. Thank you so much for saying that. It helps the nervous system relax. I think that was my favorite journey. Well, my favorite journey, I can't say that. All the journeys were so powerful for me, but one of my other journeys, I got to do the Sacred Heart. I was so happy to do embody self-love, and it was so hard. I gotta tell you all, embodying self-love. I work on self-love all the time, and I'm sure most of us do. But that was one of my journeys I recently did, and I thought that was so much harder than I thought it was going to be because there's so many layers of what's the word? Conditioning, just conditioning that I had to go through, and it was literally a journey of delayering all the self-hatred that has been either acquired by me or in my genetic lineage, or my whole family is like, full of it. So I was moving so much material and my own. And I remember at one point you came over to me and I was like crying and having a whole moment. Um, and you said, I love watching my partner. And you just told me this randomly. You were like, I love when I watch my partner take care of her body and how she does it. And you were like doing this thing, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta go in the bathroom. And I remember putting some cream on, and I like, had a whole little self-love party. But I went through a really difficult time at that ceremony. I'm not gonna lie, and I had to purge some really intense pain. And so as we invite, you into this conversation with us, this is not an easy journey. It's like not a shortcut. This is actually the embodiment of the healing process. And we all want to rush our healing, but as we know, we can't do that. It's actually the slowing down is what creates the healing. I remember I've had many one-on-one sessions with Christian as well, where I've just told him my personal stuff and he'll take me on journeys. And I'm very visceral. So I'm like, did you lift my body up like this and keep my head in there and then put me back down? He's like, yes.
That is exactly what I did.
That's exactly what I did. I cleared out all of your junk from that last journey that you shouldn't have taken. No, I'm just kidding. That was not with you. Um, but the one thing I want to say about you as a leader is that I do feel super, super safe with you. And I remember the first time you opened Sacred Space, and I've heard people open Sacred Space hundreds of times because I've been at Kripalu and I've been at places where lots of shamanic practitioners are working, and I've heard the Sacred Space opened. And when you opened Sacred Space, it was so different. I literally cried, and I've never cried during someone opening Sacred Space before, but I felt it viscerally because you do embody that. You embody that love of the mother and all of the creatures. Like you embody it, and I cried. And I remember telling you I was going to release all of my shamanic tools that I had collected over the years and start over. And you said, yeah, let's bury those and let's start you over with your shamanic tools, not like things that are borrowed or whatever. So this is really powerful. To be able to work with you is just, I feel so honored and I'm so excited about it. And I just want to thank you for being such a great teacher of mine. And, you know, you are so good at what is it? What is the way Bridget describes it? Our mutual best friend says, "Oh no, he will not enroll in your story."
Yes, I definitely, the grandfather has taught me not collude because the moment we collude with someone's story, we can no longer help them, right?
Will you
And
say that again so people understand what that means? It's so important and it's so unbelievably profound and it's not easy to do. You have to be so disciplined.
it is very disciplined. And actually, I used to try to push all my time in the military away. But you know what? Being in the military gave me so many gifts because in there you learn, they deconstruct you, they reprogram you. And then as I became a sergeant, a staff sergeant, I learned how to do that. But it was to train people to go to war and survive war.
Mm,
In this case, right, the discipline, the integrity, the commitment to show up, right? And so having the plant medicine guide me and teach me and be my mentor and sitting with it, working with it, collusion, we tend to think that, because we go and like, we tell somebody like, oh, poor little you, I got you, right? Like feeling bad for someone, like you're
mm,
anchoring whatever it is that they're going through and you're not
oh,
allowing the energy to just clear, right?
mm,
There's something beautiful that happens that when two human ears can hear a story without any judgment,
mhm,
the energy is released, it's
mm,
vanished, right? But if I go there trying to save you and it's like, I'm gonna try to rescue you, it's done. You colluded with this person, right?
right.
Because chances are that they're reminding you of a wound that you still haven't healed and you're not being
Mm,
honest with yourself, right? Because I have done this early in my journey when I'm like, whoa, like that is triggering me. Now I'm trying to
mm,
rescue this client.
mm.
So I used to give him a choice. Hey, can you come back like in 2 days? Because I need to go heal this. Or, maybe you should work with someone else, right?
Ooh,
And so it keeps you in integrity. And so that's why like the number one thing I'll do is I will not collude with your story because you are not your story. And the
oh my
more
God.
we wrap story around whatever event happened, that's suffering. And that creates more wounding and more trauma. And we don't allow the energy to be clear.
I
And then
always love that because you're on the medicine. You're like, but listen to what's happening to me. You're like, is that true? I mean, you're like, did that really happen? I'm like, yes, it really happened." Okay, well, you're so good at taking the story and not allowing, like, not colluding with it, not enrolling with it, not being like, oh yeah, yeah, exactly what you just said. I mean, I wish you could show them what it sounds like, but it's hard to explain how to not do it because most people were so trained to commiserate with others and to
yeah.
participate in the story.
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing, like the best way to learn from someone is really being in the energy because then you get to feel what it looks like. And when somebody can model that for you, it's
Hmm.
super helpful. It's a shortcut. And this is what I tell all my students. It's like, it's not about like just, okay, like, yes, go do your own thing. But it is important to have someone that you trust, someone that continues to grow with you because it allows you to see what's possible, right? Like back in the day, they used to think that if you run a mile under 4 minutes, you would die until everybody started to see people doing
Right,
it, and then everybody else can do it, right?
Right.
And so that's why that's so important, and the other way that the grandfather taught me how to hold space is you know, give that love that you have for your daughters, because I love my daughters with all my
Mm.
heart, right? And
Yes,
that's
of
actually,
course.
they're the ones that actually kind of get me to collude with some stuff. So it's good practice.
I know I feel the same way about my sons.
Yeah, but coming from that space, right? Like of that
Yeah.
love, and that's how I enter the heart, and then the grandfather moves through me, right? And then
Mm.
more recently has shown me how, as you described, like, hey, you're like so powerful, like this and that. But yet I was shown how I was just holding the space from this space in my heart, and then I got just shown how to hold the space from back here, like a mountain,
Yes.
right? And so
Mm.
now it's completely different. It is completely different how everything happens and how quickly the grandfather talks to me and moves energy. And
Mm.
sometimes I feel like, wow, I feel like I should be doing more, and then the grandfather's like, no, you are enough. The energy is enough, and they
Mm.
need to do the work, because it is so empowering to know that you can move the energy. And it also teaches you, like when to ask for help, right? Because a lot of
Yes.
us have a problem asking for help. Sometimes we think it's like it's important to know when to ask for help and when to know, hey, I got this. I believe in myself. I trust myself.
Mm. I love that so much. And I want to close pretty soon, but I want to, you just made me think of another beautiful thing. I remember being in tons of pain and, like at some point, saying to you, blah, 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 and you're just like, it's amazing. Like I love growing and I'm so glad I met you because I feel like I get to do exactly what you're doing. I get to grow along with all of my people that are in my community and we all get to grow together and we're all medicine for each other. And there's something that when you say things like I remember you saying, what we'll just listen to the grandfather, ask the grandfather. You'd be like, you listen to my whole story, you'd be like, ask the grandfather. I'd be like, what? You're not gonna like collude with my story and enroll with me and give me a process? But you're like, nope. And I go
The-
in deeper. I go deeper and I go in and under and around and find myself facing the mirror and looking at myself and saying, hey, we got to have a conversation. And like I had like this really intense conversation with myself. I'll never forget it. And I know exactly where I was in what part of the country and what bathroom, after this conversation with myself. And really changing, like feeling like I have grown so much from each journey, and each journey is different, and each journey takes me to another level. So I want to invite you, if you're curious, if you're interested, and you want to work with this amazing man, and you know, and me doing it together and really learning together. I think we put people on pedestals, which you told me not to do every time I do it to you.
Especially me. I don't want to be no one's pedestal. Just as human.
Exactly, exactly. And but the medicine that we're bringing is to help other people and to be of service. And that's all I want to do is help as many people as I can while I'm still here. And I know you do too. So I just want to thank you so much for talking to me. I hope we can do this again because you have so many incredible skills and stories to share, and we can just do so many things together to help people. And everybody goes on their own individual journey. That's the thing. It's not like we're all doing the same thing at the same time. Just like in the dance, even if I throw out a prompt like tell your story to the dance floor. What are you feeling right now? What's happening for you in your life? You're doing you. And then we come together for different segments where we release the energy and the charge of that. So we come to peace. And that's where I always want to end up, back at peace, back at center, back at ground. I watched your post about the eclipse, and I did just that, and I got really into it and had an amazing experience doing that and grounding into the mother and feeling the magnificence of the incredible fascination of the earth and all of that. So I just want to thank you, as always, for being one of my teachers, and I'm just so grateful that you got on this Facebook Live with me.
Oh, of course, anytime. I love supporting your community. I love you, Tony. I'm so grateful to have met you. You have brought so much joy and so many, so much space to grow. And as you keep referencing saying like how this change is permanent, and it is, because scientifically it is shown that these plants interact with your brain and it begins to rip the neural pathways that we form at an earlier age where that cause these traumas and things like that. And if you slow down enough, you could actually feel those cells ripping apart
I
as
have
you
felt it.
as you shed, right? Like the pattern,
Oh,
the story, the trauma, and then right,
oh,
let's say like if your intention was to embody your power, or embody your self-love or your highest destiny, you begin to feel now you have access because you have shed whatever was in the way of your
mm,
intention. And when you begin to feel these high frequencies, this blissful, and what that feels like, every cell in your body receives that. And then you could feel these cells refusing again in your brain. And that's why the change is permanent, you know? And so,
oh. Wait, I
uh,
got one more thing to say because you just brought something up. So
yeah,
I have, so
absolutely, yes.
I'm gonna talk about him as if he's not here, everybody. So he does this one thing. So when he's leading the ceremony, he is the grandfather. So like I'm laying there and I'm doing my thing and I'm not really having much go on. And he comes over and all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? And everything starts kicking up. And he's like, I had to come over because you weren't doing your work. And I'm like, oh, grandfather. And it becomes this whole thing where every time, so sometimes I don't want him to come over to me at all. I want to leave me alone. Otherwise, I might have to do some purging or some deeper work. But it's like this incredible relationship. The medicine, like I already feel it. Like I know we're going to be doing a journey soon, and I already feel it starting. Like it's already like, hey, it's like we're having a little bit of a chat. I'm like, oh, I'm sweating already, because it's a deep commitment when you do this. So, I suggest that if you're interested and you're feeling excited or curious or whatever, sit with it and then reach out to me, reach out to Christian. We'll put our links below so you can like reach out to us and have a conversation about if you're interested in doing this with us. And of course, he leads journeys all over in other locations, but he's going to come here to my area and do one with me. So it's very exciting and it can definitely bring up like some, what's the word, like some risk. That risk meter comes up. Your risk manager might come up and be like, "This is a risk manager." And just know that it's a love medicine. I feel so much love afterwards. Usually for 3 weeks, I am untriggerable. I am unactivated. I cannot be activated for at least 3 weeks to 3 months after a journey. And I remember I wrote this song, I let go, I let go. It was like this beautiful realization that I could let go of an old pattern I was carrying from my grandfather, my actual physical grandfather in this lifetime, who I've been carrying stuff for years and years, his unlived dreams. And I said, I'm not going to carry this anymore. And you helped me. And we got to it. It was a whole day journey. So I'm so excited to work with you. We'll see you soon. I'm going to do a moi for all my people who are watching, and we'll share more about the journey that's upcoming in May in a little while. Are you ready?
Beautiful.
All
I
right, I'm going to
am
do a moi.
ready.
Here we go. I do the moi, and we close it
Thank you
up.
for having me.
Thank you
Blessings
so
to you and
much.
all your community.
Thank you so much. Christian, you're the best.